Do clearing agents make your brew taste different? Let's find out. We have here 3 ciders. This is our cider test that we did, where we used 3 different cider yeasts. Notice the different colors, by the way. They've been sitting for a few weeks now. I think this is interesting. It's actually been sitting since like September, about a month, almost a month. They actually look a little bit different, but they're not clear. And Derica thought, hey, if we're going to do this, why don't we use something that we already made? That way we don't have to start from scratch. So...
But because they look different and they're different yeasts, we don't want to use that as our base because that might screw our results. So
we're going to make a blend.
Put them all in a bucket.
Yeah, we're going to blend them all together. And this is just racking. We have a video on it. So we're probably just going to do this really, really fast. Might even find some Benny Hill style music or something. You know, here, I don't need that anymore. But there is sediment in the bottom of these, so I'm keeping the cap on. So essentially, we're just racking them all into a bucket, blending them together. All right, so we have a little over a gallon of our mixed cider. Let me just show you how cloudy this actually is. As you can see from looking in there, you can't. It's just kind of cloudy. I mean, all 3 mixed together. I didn't get any sediment. We actually lost a little bit more product than I normally would because I didn't want any sediment in there. But that's the cider we're working with.
On a recent trip to Target, we found these beautiful things. These are half-gallon food-safe containers. I
wanted to get like 20 of them. She wouldn't let me.
And I was like, no, because we have
They were $5. $5.
You know when you first go into Target and they have that little random collection of stuff right there at the front? That's where these lovely things were. They were just staring at us as soon as we walked in the store, and of course we had to buy them. But then when we got them home, we realized their opening is slightly smaller than a traditional 1 gallon. So we contacted North Mountain Supply. We told them what our problem was, and they said, hey, we got 5.5 size bungs. Let me send you some of those and see if they work. Ta-da! So we are good to go. So if you do find these at your local Target, you are going to want to get the 5.5 size bungs, and they fit perfectly.
Now, the reason I wanted to have more of these is, first, you can bottle straight into these, okay? They're food safe. You can keep it in there. There's a cap for it. They're totally fine to do that. I love the moonshine jug concept for ciders and meads and wines. I just love that. But second, it's a convenient size because let's say you make a 1 gallon batch and you had to rack a lot of it and then after adding more fruit or something, you had to rack it again, or you just had a lot of sediment, or for whatever reason, there was a lot of loss and you ended up with only a half gallon. That's a beautiful size to have. And the fact that it just fits the same kind of look of all the other containers is just kind of cool to me.
Aesthetics is a thing.
Yes, it really is. So what we're going to do now is we are actually going to be testing 3 ciders. We're going to taste test them. Now, one of them is going to be the control, okay? Which means we're going to add nothing to it. It's going to be cloudy as all heck, probably, because these have been sitting for a month and they're still cloudy as all heck. The other one, we're going to use bentonite. And the third, we're going to use Sparkolloid. Now, I know there's lots of other ways to clear, and I know we probably could do 15 different ways, but you know what? We have 3 of these bottles because she wouldn't let me get more. So,
my fault.
We're going to be doing a control and 2 tests. And the real test here is not how well they work. I know they're going to clear it. It's, do they change the flavor of it? And we're going to have to figure out how to do a blind taste test of something that's not clear versus something that is clear.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to
be adults and be honest about it. But
wait a minute, how much? Well, we only have 2 of them.
2 what?
The black Glencairns.
Yeah,
2.
We can put paper on the outside of the glass or something. I don't know. Or just I'll have you drink with your eyes closed, and then I'll drink with my eyes closed.
Sure.
That'll be, because what can possibly go wrong there?
Hilarity shall ensue.
Anyway, so I'm going to start mixing up the. Oh no, we want to rack. We want to rack first. So
these.
We're going to rack into the bottles, and we have to keep the quantity the same.
Now, there's another thing that we need to take into consideration, and we're not going to add the dry ingredient straight in here. We actually have to mix it with water first. So,
but that's when we get to that.
Everything the same, we're going to be adding just water to our control, so we have the same dilution property of all 3.
But we're not at that point yet.
Okay.
We'll get there. Keep watching. So the trick here is we have to fill them to the same amount.
Is this going to be an eyeball dealie, or do you need the pitcher, or what do you want to do?
Oh, we could do that. We're going to rack it to the pitcher, and you know what? I'm going to pour it into the bottles. Just don't tell anybody, okay? So 3 half gallons, but I know I want to leave a little out. So
Is
what if
it
we did like
2
60?
ounces that you have to add of water?
Yeah. So what if we do like 60 ounces per? That means we have to fill the pitcher a little bit more. That's all. It's fine.
Okay.
All right, I got this.
Okay.
So we're gonna rack to the pitcher, and then we're gonna start measuring stuff. Okay. So not sure what I was thinking. 3 half gallons, 3 half gallons. There's gonna be less. You know what? There's just going to be less.
It's all right.
Okay.
But we have these labeled on our side, so we know what the heck we're going on here. This is control, this is bentonite, and this is sparkolloid.
So in the control, I'm going to add 2 ounces of just straight up water because that's what we're doing with the other ones. Try not to spill it because then it'd be less than 2 ounces. And the test would be complete crap. Now, I know someone is going to ask, why are you even putting them under airlock? Well, why not?
It's proper procedure.
There's nothing wrong with putting them under airlock. I don't expect them to ferment, but there's nothing wrong with it, okay? It's not going to hurt anything. And we're probably going to have to use rubber bands because everything's wet.
Slippery when wet.
Yes. So that's our control. Next up is bentonite. And I have here a Pyrex with 2 ounces of water. Everything's been sanitized. I'm going to use a half teaspoon of bentonite. This calls for 2 teaspoons in a half cup of water. Stir for 1 to 2 minutes. Now, that's for like 5 gallons. So we're only doing half gallon here. So I'm just going to use half a teaspoon and call it a day. And I'm going to treat this like I treat Sparkolloid. I'm going to microwave it. I'll be back in a sec. All right. Those of you that have seen me use this stuff before know that I don't like bentonite. I think it's disgusting. And it's just clay, okay? But it's just goopy and ugh, I don't like it.
He has a textural issue.
Yes, I do. And I microwaved this for 30 seconds because that's when the water started to boil. And I'm just going to mix this up real good. This actually worked better than the last time. Last time it was just a goopy mess and was absolutely like, I'm like, how does anyone like doing this? I'd rather let it sit for 3 months and hope it clears. Calling it good. And I'm going to dump this right in. So that's our 2 ounces plus bentonite. So there will be a very, very slight volume difference because of the half teaspoon of bentonite. I'm aware. Sorry. It's just, there's the goop. There, see, it got goopy. It's goopy.
Do you need a baster?
Nope, I'm going to do it the hard way because it's more entertaining television. Right. Now, as much as I complain about it, bentonite really does work well. And this one in particular, bentonite, is one that someone just recently told me that they were adding bentonite to everything, and they and a friend tested some that didn't have any, and they found a huge difference. So I said, you know what? We've heard this before, and we've heard people say that there's no difference. I don't know because we've never actually tested it. So that's why we're doing this.
Do you need to do a little tilt because you got bentonite on the side?
I
don't know if that's going to help any, or if it's just really sticky.
It's really sticky. It will not achieve its destiny. Yeah. I'm done. Okay. Bentonite. Airlock on. Next up is Sparkolloid. Now, Sparkolloid is actually one of my new favorite clearing agents. It works really, really well. And it's another more or less natural thing, naturally occurring kind of thing. It's, what is it? Diomite. It's diomite.
Diomite.
An alginate polysaccharide. So it's diatomaceous earth. That's what it was. And it's very, very powdery. I'm just going to use a half teaspoon again into 2 ounces of water. I'm going to nuke it for about 30 seconds till the water boils. I'll be right back. That took 40 seconds. Let me move these out of the way. I feel like I'm behind bars or something. All right. That took 40 seconds. The other one took like 30 seconds. And it didn't dissolve as well as, I don't know, it dissolved as well as it did the last time I used it. Probably used more than I needed to anyway because these are small.
Yeah.
Okay, so that looks ready. This is why I like Sparkolloid because it dissolves really nicely when it gets warm like that. And it should not gloop.
You don't want to be too slow when you're pouring.
Yeah, well, if I go too fast, then...
It does that. See?
Yeah, well, you know...
I'm just saying.
If I go too fast, then I spill it.
Yeah.
The troubles of being a homebrewer. We now have the 3, and they are marked. So you control bentonite, Sparkolloid. Each of them takes a week to 2 weeks to clear. So what we're going to do is just leave these alone for about 2 weeks, come back, and we'll show you what they did. Okay, a hurricane came through, and these have been sitting for 18 days because we weren't here. I noticed something strange, though. They didn't clear that much. I find that interesting. Let me show you a closer look. This is the control, meaning it had no clearing agents added to it. This one is bentonite, which looks quite a bit better. Lots and lots of sediment on the bottom. And then we have Sparkolloid, which also looks about the same clarity-wise, but in reality, I think it's just ever so slightly more clear than the bentonite. So while that's a little bit of a disappointment, that's not really what this test was about. This test was, can you taste a difference? It wasn't, do they work? They obviously work, and in varying degrees. I think had our temperature of our house not gone up to 80 or something degrees, they'd have done a lot better. So now I just want to pull a sample from each one, and we're going to taste it. See if we can tell a difference.
All right, I'm going to sanitize the
Yeah,
baster
sanitize the baster in between.
Do you want to put more in the control? Because we'll probably be comparing those to the control.
Sure. We're not doing a blind test here because, well, you know, we're adults and we can be reasonable about this.
We have no dog in this race.
No,
we don't
we
really
really don't.
care. We just want to.
I mean, we care, just
Well, we want to know what's going on. We're not going to bias our choices.
right.
Ideally, we want them all to taste the same.
Yeah.
Because then it won't matter.
I will say on inspection, obviously this is hard to say now because there's twice as much in here. The Sparkolloid did ever so slightly better at clearing. Just
Shall we do the white paper test so they can see what we're talking about?
Sure. So there you have it. This is Sparkolloid. This is bentonite. This is the control. Now keep in mind the control has a bit more in the glass, so it'll be a little bit darker, but it really didn't clear. Like, obviously it didn't clear on its own. The other two are reasonably clear. There's a very slight haze in them, and that could be from the heat, the things like that. So I don't want to say that this test is flawed, but every test has a flaw. That is the flaw in this test, is that we really couldn't get to it, and there may have been a temperature fluctuation. But it affected all three. Therefore, any difference between the three should actually be from the clearing agents, not from the temperature. So there. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So we have our glasses arranged in the way that our vessels are arranged to help us stay intact and on track. Those are the words.
I swear we really haven't been drinking today. So this is the control. It's a dry cider, okay? All these were like 996 or 994 or something like that. It's actually not bad looking as a cider. It's not carbonated. It's not cold. On the smell, it smells like a decent cider. Now that's interesting. There's less smell coming off the bentonite. Like, it's obvious. It's harder to get the smell.
Is it because of the volume, though?
I had my nose way in there. The Sparkolloid actually still retains a lot of the aroma, but the bentonite seems to have lost a little bit of aroma. Now remember, the premise of this is that someone told us, and we've heard it before, that they had been using different clearing agents and were losing flavors.
They do smell different to me.
Yes, there is a difference.
I can't really pinpoint and put into words the differences.
Stronger, weaker. Just a stronger smell and a weaker smell. I'm going to taste this one.
Okay.
Okay. Decent cider. Got a good appley note. It's dry. Not bad. Water.
I got mine. Are you you still full?
I have a little bit.
You got enough?
Got enough. Okay. Now I'm on to bentonite. Did you taste that one yet? Mm. I may be imagining it, but it feels a little stripped. It's not as strong. Oh. Mm-hmm. It lost a little bit of the acid, a little bit of sharpness that is nice. It took some crispness away, like rounded all the edges. It softened it. It did change it.
Yeah, I'm getting more appley notes in the control than I am in the bentonite.
Absolutely.
Some of the things that I don't particularly like about this dry cider, I'm getting in both. So that's not helpful.
Sparkolloid is much the same as the bentonite. The appley note definitely comes through better in that. Wow, this is really interesting. Got to do a side-by-side. On the smell, Sparkolloid is ever so slightly better. A little more apple note. I have to say I'm quite surprised. I thought there'd be a difference, but I didn't think there was going to be a drastic difference. But it's fairly strong. To me, the difference between the Sparkolloid and the bentonite is much smaller than the difference between those two and the control. They're very close. I think the Sparkolloid retains more of the original flavors, whereas the bentonite almost feels watered down. That's what it comes across as, like as if you added water to it. Whereas the control has all the strong flavors, the acidic notes, the fruity notes, it's all still there. Sparkolloid retains probably 75% of it, and bentonite retains 60% of it. What's your assessment?
Compared to the control, they both taste significantly watered down to me. I would say there is a slight difference between the bentonite and the Sparkolloid. But as it stands right now, for me, I would say let's just have cloudy beverages and not worry about it.
Now, one thing that's very important to note, this is not a definitive test. This
Absolutely
is
not.
On this exact cider. Had this
Right.
been a full mead or a wine, the results could be very, very different. So I don't want anybody to say, oh, they proved this. We didn't prove anything other than, in this case, there was a difference.
Yeah.
And it's noticeable. To me, it's more than taste it today and taste it tomorrow and you wouldn't tell the difference. I would know the difference.
For me, I think part of the problem might be that at this point, I'm not particularly enjoying the control. So there's some flavors that I kind of want to go away. And I feel like the bentonite and the Sparkolloid, like you said, just make it kind of more waddier.
Even the viscousness of the mouthfeel, everything about it, very different.
It is
Made it less.
it's unusual and it's a little disappointing. I didn't think it was going to be that predominant. The thing I like the best about the control is the fruit notes.
Yeah, it's got a nice
those
fruity note.
seem to be what are
What it
missing the
stripped out.
most.
It kept the acidity. It kept the
I'm even getting
dry-
the youth thing going on.
Well, it's not even young anymore. This
know,
this
but
is from August.
It tastes. I'm getting that taste and that
This
aroma.
is 2 months old now, so it's 8 weeks. So it's not old, but it's not exactly that young. It could still have some youth.
But to build on Brian's comment about this is not definitive at all, and that's because fermentation is like a mini chemistry experiment. And so there are a lot of things going on here that are not going to react the same with bentonite and Sparkolloid. So we have basically an apple juice and yeast fermentation in this particular example. Now, when we start adding honey or other fruits or other
Everything could change.
things, then those may stay or may get stripped more
Quicklier. That's a good
quickly with the bentonite and Sparkolloid. We don't know that. So, as Brian said, based on this alone,
I would clear as a last resort.
I would keep the cloudy beverage.
Yeah. Now, something else I want to point out. Keep in mind, these two did not fully clear, which
No.
means I may not have used enough to fully clear them, which means it could be even more pronounced if I had done it correctly. Because remember, I had to kind of guess the measurements
Yeah.
for the small amounts. That's even more disconcerting to me.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have a dog in this fight.
We don't.
I like a clear brew just as much as the next person. I think they look nicer. Everything about them is more about appearance. It's
I was
cosmetic.
actually rooting for Sparkolloid because we've used it in the past.
It's so easy.
And it worked pretty well in clearing. I was shocked that they were this cloudy.
Yeah. There's still a definite haze. Now, we did not test pectic enzyme.
We did not. And there's
Mostly because we only had 3 of these.
more than just pectic enzyme
Yeah.
for clearing agents. There's so many different clearing agents that you can use.
But those would be the 3 that I would use. Just personal preference.
I would think now that I know more on how pectic enzyme works, I would be more
think pectic
inclined.
enzyme would have stripped flavors.
Right, because we did a deep dive recently on pectic enzyme. Did you know about it? It's linked in the description of this video for you to go watch. But basically, pectic enzyme is molecularly attacking and deconstructing, if you will, the pectin in the brew. So it's not really stripping anything. It's just making that molecule be easily broken down.
Yeah.
Which makes me think
It might be the superior way to clear a brew.
right. Now, I have yet to do a deep dive on Bentonite
we
and
haven't
Sparkalloid.
experimented.
And we haven't compared that with pectic enzyme directly as we did with them in this scenario. So more testing is required.
But what's funny is I went into this and we left pectic enzyme out because I thought it was the weakest
Yeah.
of the 3. But it's actually probably, possibly, maybe, potentially the better choice. But we don't know until we put it to the test.
That's right.
So that's a whole other video that we're not going to do today. But do you have anything else you want to say?
If there's something in particular you would like us to test, and it's not like
Make
10,000
50 gallons of this
brews
thing?
and wait 500 years.
Yeah. We've had some odd requests, let's just say.
That's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
please don't ask that. But within reason.
Yeah. You know, stuff that just everyday questions about brewing that we can test. I'm all for it. I mean, to me, this was a great test. I was really disappointed when they didn't all clear.
Yeah.
We almost scrapped the test.
We did.
And then I looked at them again today and I said, you know what? They did clear. There is a difference. There's enough for us to test. That's pretty much where it stands. And boy, did we test, and boy, was that weird. Not what I expected at all.
Yeah.
But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.